I'm Simon Shepherd on Great Mercury Island, where New Zealand's first space rocket has just left this launch rail.
Kia ora, good evening, and move over NASA. New Zealand's arrived in space. The Aotearoa did suffer one small stumble on the launch pad, but then came the giant leap of joy as the rocket team celebrated a successful blast-off. Let's just savour the moment.
In the tradition of great New Zealand explorers, New Zealand, we are go for space.
22 seconds, we're home free to space! Nickel, mate. Well done. Sean, well done.
Yeah. It's the best feeling I've had in the world. She's away. We heard the booster burn for a good 22 seconds. As long as she held together, we're space home free.
Well, Simon Shepherd was on Great Mercury Island off the Coromandel to see New Zealand cross the final frontier. Simon.
Yes, Hilary, after that small delay, or quite a long delay on the launch pad, the only hint of Houston we have a problem is the fact that to actually prove it went into space, they have to get the rocket back. Aotearoa ready for space. A moment 3 years in the making and dangerous.
And if we say get the hell out of here, I know you guys don't, but drop your bloody camera and just come with us, eh?
A select group of guests was watching safely 500 metres away, expectations high.
And these guys really are our heroes on science. You know, we've got heroes in the sports fields, but these guys are our real heroes, I think.
If you blink, you'll miss it.
Yep.
So hopefully we won't miss it, and hopefully things will work today. But if it's not today, it'll be tomorrow until they get it to fly.
The rocket looked ready, but back in the bunker, a problem. And that meant the countdown was off.
We can confirm we have no disconnection of the air coupler.
Yeah, at this stage we'll have to scrub the launch, and we're going to have another crack at things in 3 hours. We've just taken the fuel out of the rocket. We're trying a few things with different pressures to see what we can do. So, yeah, very unfortunate, very disappointing, but we're going to keep on trucking.
And they did, determined to make the rocket fly. So for the last hour or so, Peter Beck and the Rocket Lab technicians have been trying to find a way around the coupling problem. They may have had some success as they've just replaced the fuel tanks on the rocket. Could be time to give it another go. But not before a new valve was flown in from Whitianga. Then the 6-metre Aotearoa was finally ready.
2, 1.
A delighted designer with an ecstatic audience.
Fantastic effort, Pete. That was just incredible. It was pure power. It was glorious to behold, Peter.
You know, I don't know where. That way.
But the question now is, did it make it to space and take New Zealand with it? Now, the Rocket Lab crew are fairly confident looking at their raw data that they did make it into space. But to confirm that, they need the equipment that's in the nose cone. Where is that nose cone? Well, if it made it back down from space, it's probably bobbing around out there in the ocean. And to find it, they've got a GPS tracker on board. At the moment, they're waiting for the signal to come through from there. They've got about 2 days of battery life in that nose cone to power that signal. Apparently, there's no chance of the nose cone sinking, so we're still waiting for confirmation that New Zealand has made it to space.
Simon, thank you.
Why do we build this rocket? Why does it exist?
The purpose of this rocket and the purpose of the RTS space program is to provide southern and northern hemisphere scientists low cost and regular access to space. In the northern hemisphere, these sorts of rocket programs have been running since the mid-50s, and there's a tremendous amount of data gathered in the northern hemisphere, but almost nothing has been gathered in the southern hemisphere. So there's a real need in the international science community to get this data from the southern hemisphere. And these sorts of rockets are really the only way to get that data.
I mean, the romantic look of a rocket is, you know, the big ones, the space shuttles, etc. I mean,
sure.
So why is this different? What's the practicalities of this?
Well, this is called a sounding rocket. It comes from the old nautical term to sound or to take measurements. And that's the purpose of the rocket, is to take scientific measurements. you'll notice that the rocket is relatively small for something that's going to reach space. And in this particular business, small is beautiful. The smaller you can get something, the more efficient it is. And we've made good use of high-performance materials. The vehicle's almost entirely carbon fibre composite, and that enables us to build something very, very small and very, very efficient to get our payload to space.
Well, this is a USB flash drive, and Space Services Inc. have commissioned us to put this into space. It carries about 22,000 messages, and people are wanting to send their messages to their beloved in space, send their message to the stars.
Tell me, you mentioned before, about the rocket and the speed. What's it going to be going?
Yeah, well, I mean, RTO1 is going to be going 5 times the speed of sound. That's about over 5,000 kilometres per hour. It's going to be experiencing the extremes of heat and cold. So it's quite a technological feat. And this is the first rocket launch, the first space attempt in a series of rocket launches. So obviously we're going for gold.
My dream and my quest for the last sort of nearly decade and a half now is essentially to build a rocket and to get it to space. Now that's just a personal quest. Obviously the company itself we've been going officially in an official capacity for 3 years, developing this launch vehicle. And we are a commercial company, and we're commercially backed. And there is real revenue to be gained here, and New Zealand really has the opportunity to be the Southern Hemisphere leader in this particular class of launch vehicle.
So why aren't the Australians in this, or the South Americans, or is this not the Americans not doing it out of Antarctica, or?
Well, the Americans obviously are government space programs, so that's a big difference between us and what goes on in America. Being a private organisation and a commercial space program, we don't distinguish between countries and scientists. So if a country that's perceived unfriendly to the US wanted to launch some good science into space and do some really good climate change research, their options are very limited because they just can't get a flight. Whereas we take a little more pragmatic approach, and if the science is good and it's going to benefit everybody, then we're not going to, just because someone's from a particular country, we're not going to say no.
So what science can be done in space? What is the purpose of being and how high you go, and what can be done up there?
There's a tremendous amount of sciences can be done, ranging from the obvious ones, which is atmospheric work, which is climate change, which is perhaps the most important, but there's lots of others such as solar physics, study of the sun, microgravity, and within microgravity there's crystal growth, protein growth, cellular growth, combustion sciences. There's just a tremendous amount of different fields and aspects to it.